Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing great. I have decided to join in and share my experience with Linux that I've had for the past 8 months, because when I was thinking about leaving Windows behind, seeing so many cases of people that started daily driving Linux helped me make the switch myself. This whole time I've been using Nobara Linux with KDE environment, why KDE? Because it was the most similar to Windows. Now I have customized it quite a bit, but I will talk about that later. And why Nobara? Well, when I was completely new to Linux and started looking for distributions, I noticed that most of them are either based on Debian, which is known for being stable but not as up to date with software, based on Arch, which is on the bleeding edge of technology but not quite user friendly, and based on Fedora, which is somewhere in between. Nobara, being based on Fedora and being focused on gaming, felt like the right choice. And gaming was the easiest thing to set up and do, so I'll talk about that at the end of the video. First, I want to discuss about some issues and compromises that I had to do while using Linux. The first 2 to 3 weeks of setting things up were quite challenging and I almost gave up on using Linux, but I helped myself with AI. My poison of choice was ChatGPT, and before I tried to do anything, I would give the AI the most important information about my system, the fact that I'm on Nobara Linux with KDE environment. Then I would proceed with whatever issue I had to fix. After you install Nobara, you will be greeted by the Nobara welcome app. I suggest you look through here. You see you have some options like update your system, install media codec packages, highly suggest you do that, driver manager, applications, and so on. Something else that is very important after you install is to go to system settings, search for KDE wallet, and simply disable that. Otherwise you are going to have a lot of annoying pop-ups whenever you use a Chromium based browser, especially since Nobara comes with Brave pre-installed. When it comes to applications and packages, you have the update system app, which updates the entire system, but also looks for possible issues and fixes. For installing, you have the package manager, where you have applications and packages that are specifically maintained for Nobara, and Flatpost, where you have Flatpak applications which basically run in their own environment regardless of your distributions. A good rule is to first look for something in the package manager, and if you don't find it here, then you look for it in Flatpost. For example, Zen browser, I couldn't find it here, but I did find it in Flatpost. Something that I should mention about the update system app, I think it happened like 3 times in those 8 months. The application itself wouldn't open, so to fix that I just went into the terminal and did the system update from here with this command, and that fixed it. So keep that in mind if it ever happens to you. Let's see, the first major thing that I had to do after I installed Nobara was to figure out how to mount my storage SSD. The SSD that has the operating system on will be automatically mounted, but not anything extra on the side. This is actually very easy. You have the Nobara Drive Mount Manager, and it's a one-click solution. You find your storage here and just click Auto Mount. Now, my mistake here was that I didn't look into what the system can and can't do. So I ended up looking online for tutorials, and I basically modified system files. A lot of work for no reason. There were no problems, but I just didn't have to bother with anything like that. In case you are interested, I'm going to leave the link to the tutorial in the description. Something else that I want to mention about extra storage, I had this idea because I have dual boot with Windows and Linux. I wanted a storage SSD to be shared between the two systems. That is not possible because Windows uses NTFS formatting for storage and Linux doesn't. I could read it, I could write to it, but applications couldn't really use what was stored there. Long story short, I tried to install a Steam game on that NTFS formatted SSD. It did install, but I couldn't open it. After I reformatted to ext4, the problem was solved. But again, I was completely new to Linux, I had basically no idea what I was doing. When it comes to audio, and video players, you have in the package manager a lot of options, but you have to install them because Nobara doesn't come with anything pre-installed. For example, Haruna is a video player, Elisa is an audio player, and Easy Effects, it's an equalizer application, highly recommended. Now Easy Effects, I haven't installed it from the package manager because this version is missing some dependencies regarding noise reduction effects. So I installed it from Flatpak. With the audio player I didn't have any problems, but with Haruna, if I have a video that is 2 seconds or shorter, for example here, you can see that it plays. I muted the audio because it was a bit loud, but there is no image. Something that I noticed is that if I uninstall Haruna from the package manager and then go to the Flatpost version, the problem basically fixes itself. Now you can also look for other video players if you don't like Haruna, but I decided to stick with this one, so I looked for a way to fix the problem. So now with the Flatpost version everything is going just fine. I will get a bit into Easy Effects because it's really useful, especially if you have a bit of a crappy mic. Those noise reduction effects really help. For example, if I turn them off a bit, you will see that my mic also has static, but the sound is a bit worse. And it's only going to come from the left side because it's a mono. That's why I have this effect right here, Stereo Tools. So that is very useful. Keeping with the audio theme going, my headset is wireless. It worked plug and play, but since it's old, the battery started dying out, so I had to switch to a wired connection. That is done through a combo jack, audio output and microphone. I had to use a splitter to connect it to the PC itself, and the microphone connected with the splitter had terrible static, and the sound was really bad. To fix that, actually it was more of a workaround, I bought one of these adapters, a jack to USB-C. That was no problem, it worked, but it's something extra I had to do. Something else that I was using on Windows and had to set up on Linux were macros. On Windows I was using AutoHotkey to automate some key presses and switching audio outputs, but I didn't really have this option on Linux because AutoHotkey doesn't work on Linux. I had to write something completely from scratch in Python. That was the best method suggested by AI. I have no Python experience, again all of this was done with AI and it works for me. One thing that is very important, unlike AutoHotkey, in here you have to specify the device that you are going to read the input from. This function looks for the device automatically, but you can also put the device name itself as a variable. In order to find the device name, you can do evtest, and then you have here a list. For example, number 12 says keyboard, but if I select number 12 and press some keys, nothing happens. That is not quite good. I look through this, let's see, number 11, is it right? Yes, it is. So I'm pressing the A key and now you can see that it's showing the fact that it was pressed and then released, and the name of the key itself. This name is very important because this is what we are going to read the input. This function searches for the device automatically because I noticed that sometimes the device name would change on PC startup or if I change the USB port. So I prefer to do something like this. Let's go into the script itself a bit. Subprocess run basically emulates a terminal command in the background, but you don't need the terminal to be open. And this is the command itself. This right here changes the audio output, and this is the name of the device. To find the name of the device, again you are going to have to use the terminal and use this command, list short things. And you can see here, it's listing everything that is connected, that has audio output. So my TV, which is connected with a HDMI, and my headset. Also Easy Effects, because the audio passes through Easy Effects and then through the user, if that makes sense. This is just a notification, some visual aid, not really needed, but I wanted to use it. With the HDMI connected TV, I discovered that sometimes when I would put the PC to sleep and wake it back up, the audio output would be disabled. So I preferred to just enable the output every time I press the key. Why am I using keys like scroll lock and pause? Because unlike auto hotkey, this by default doesn't suspend the normal function of the key. So when I press pause, it will execute pause and then the macro that I have assigned it. I'm using scroll lock and pause because I don't really use them, the system doesn't really use them, so it's just something that doesn't bother me. Same thing with F9, applications don't really use it, the system doesn't really use it. And F9, I made it as a toggle, so whenever the toggle is enabled, I will have extra hotkeys that won't bother me normally with whatever I'm doing. So for example, when the toggle is active, the up arrow is doing Ctrl W, and the down arrow is basically refreshing the browser with this command right here. Xdo tool with key press simulates a key press. You can also simulate a click. Everything else in here is a bit more complicated, but this is the gist of it, in case you are wondering. Oh, I should mention actually, so I said that by default doesn't suspend the normal function of the key. To suspend the normal function you have two methods, the easy method, which suspends the whole keyboard, and that's not really useful, and the hard method, which requires more code. It's a bit more complicated and I just didn't want to bother with that. This is a compromise that I had to make, and I'm fine with it. Let's talk about a specific program now, Audacity. You can see here I have both versions installed from the package manager and Flatpost. You can see here opens just fine. I record some audio. You see the audio here is recorded from the desktop itself. To do that I use the host as jack, because that's how the headset is connected, and I have a separate mic now, so yeah. And the recording device is Easy Effects Sync, because as I said before, the audio passes through Easy Effects and out from Easy Effects to the user. Now, what is the problem with Audacity? If I want to apply some effects, so amplify, apply, program crashes, very fun. There is a workaround for this. You have to right click and split the track into left side and right side. And now if you apply the effects, everything is fine, no problem. That is something that you have to keep in mind. But with the FlatHub version, this problem basically doesn't happen. But instead I have a different problem that you won't be able to see it on the video, but when I hover this area, this general area, my mouse cursor is flickering like crazy, and it's really annoying. So I just prefer to have to do the workaround with the normal version. Let's see what else. Something else that I had to install that I was using on Windows was a Japanese input. So if you hear, excuse me, if you see here, I press a macro, not a macro, a hotkey, shortcut, and I can type in Japanese. To do that, you have in the package manager this lovely named package. You select it. When you select it, it automatically will install a few other needed packages. And for the Japanese language itself, you have to use this package right here. After you install them, you need to go into System Settings, Keyboard, Virtual Keyboard, and select it from here. After you select the virtual keyboard from here, you will have a pop-up in here to enable the virtual keyboard. And after that, you can just configure it from here. You can also do hotkeys on how to switch the language itself. I don't know what is the package name for other languages, so you're going to have to look for that yourself. Let's get into KDE customization. Everything is basically through a user interface. In the system settings, you have effects. Right here, you have animations, animation settings like the length. It's somewhere around here. Oh, here it is. You can change the cursor and many more. I will get into that into a different video where I plan to customize my KDE from scratch. In here, enter edit mode. You can see I can edit the panels. Everything here is basically a widget. I can tell the panel how to look, where to sit, the size of it. Something else that I should mention, you can see here my desktop wallpaper is animated. I did this through Wallpaper engine from Steam, but you need a plugin to make it work on KDE. Something else that I should mention, we have here game versions. Make sure you check Windows 7 support. That will help with a few crashes. I will explain it in a bit. If I go to desktop and wallpapers, you see here wallpaper type, wallpaper engine for KDE. It's a plugin that you can just search for it in here. You type engine, it shows up here, you install it, but you have to do a bit extra steps. So if I go here in this GitHub page, this will install the dependencies needed for the plugin to work properly. So since I'm on Nobara, which is based on Fedora, I click on here, and it's just 2 commands that you have to do if it wishes to load. So you just copy paste this command into the terminal, execute it, and then this, and everything will work just fine. Now the Windows 7 support, why that? The video wallpapers will have absolutely no problem, but scene wallpapers like this one will sometimes crash your user interface, basically. So this used to crash it, but with Windows 7 support, this is no longer the case. But that won't fix all of them. So for example, I have here this one. I apply it, and you will see shortly everything will break. Now the system itself is not broken, just the user interface basically. It tries to restart a few times, can't, and I'm left with a black screen. To fix that, you need to open up the terminal with Ctrl-Alt-T. That's the default. And here I have a few custom commands, because this happens quite often when I look for wallpapers. So in this file bash rc, I have this custom command fix plasma, which opens this file right here with the text editor Kate. So if I do that, the text editor opens, I search for engine, and the first match is the correct one since I'm testing the wallpapers on the main monitor. After that, you just look for this line right here, wallpaper source, you delete it, you save the file, close this, and again I have a custom command, start plasma, that does Kate's start 5 plasma shell. On my other monitors, everything is fine, you can see the user interface started loading. It's just that we don't have a wallpaper here because we deleted the source. But now we can go and change it back to normal. Let's slowly get into gaming. I have a controller, let me turn it on. So you can see here the name of the controller, I'm pressing buttons, it's being registered, I'm moving the joysticks, everything is fine. But the controller, if I'm gonna show it to you fully, you can see here that has it has a few extra buttons right here and right here. Those buttons are not really usable for me. I think it needs a special software that only works on Windows. I haven't really tried it to make it work because I don't really use those. So keep in mind if you have something like this, a fancy controller. Another important thing is in Steam, go to a game and enable Steam input. Why? Because I noticed that if I had to go AFK, the controller, since it's wireless, it would automatically turn itself off. And if I turned it back on with the game still running, the game wouldn't see the input. I had to restart the game. But with Steam input, that is no longer the case. The problem is fixed. I also have, aside from the controller, a drawing tablet, and this is a bit more complicated. I haven't made it work 100%. Usually, without extra packages installed, the tablet just shows in here, but because it's a very old tablet, my options to customize it are a bit limited. I can't put it in portrait mode, and that is really needed for me because of my limited desk space. My tablet, I use it for OSU, and I have installed a package from the package manager called Open Tablet Driver right here, and that will make it work better with OSU. So if I turned on the game right here, I go to settings and input, you can see that the tablet is being seen, and I can customize it. Before I installed Open Tablet Driver, that wasn't really the case. But now instead it doesn't show in the system settings. There's also a flat hub version of Open Tablet Driver, and that allows me to customize the screen and the tablet itself. But I have a different problem with this. Let me see if I can show you. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm holding the pen still and the cursor is jittering. And I couldn't really fix that. So the flat hub version of this app, I will just uninstall it because it's not really useful for me. But that's about it. Let's talk about gaming. There are two sites that you want to check from time to time. ProtonDB will show you the games that have high Linux compatibility. For example, actually, let me search it like this. You can see here, Wizardy Daphne has a silver rating, which means it can run on Steam, on Linux. But there's also something else important that should be said. Changes to the game can appear that will, for a period of time, make it unable to start. Daphne, for example, had a engine rework a few months ago, and that didn't go well with Linux. You couldn't open the game for a while. Are we anti-cheat yet? Online games that have anti-cheat in the background, and you can see here if you are able to play those or not. And in Steam itself, let me see, I basically had no problems. I was using Proton Plus. It's a compatibility layer that you can select and use, and I highly suggest you do that. In games, you can go to properties and compatibility and force it. Let's see, I will just go through the list and say whatever. I didn't really have any issues, everything just worked. I played a lot of games on Linux. Something that caused a bit of problems were a few subquests from Batman. I had to switch the Proton to experimental, so I changed it from Proton G to experimental. Wulong had a few problems with the tutorial videos for skills, so I had to go actually in the game files and delete those tutorial videos otherwise the game would crash every time I try to do anything related to a spell. What else? Counter-Strike 1.6. It's a bit of an older game. I had to set some custom launch commands. Again, I did this with AI. I have absolutely no idea what those commands do, to be honest. And everything else basically just worked. Played Dark Souls. I'm playing currently the second one. Dead Island, completely fine. Dead Space, completely fine. Dying Light 1 and 2, completely fine. Elden Ring, completely fine. You see here Elden Mod. That's because it's another instance that also launches Elden Ring, but is modded with what was it called? It's a modded engine for Elden Ring, and I don't really remember how it's called, but whatever, it's not really important. Let's see. Lords of the Fallen, completely fine. Megabomb, completely fine. This is a mod manager for Unreal Engine games. Monster Hunter, completely fine. I think you get the idea. Even EA games, I had no problems with it. And yeah, that's basically it when it comes to gaming. As I said, it was pretty much plug and play. I didn't have any problems. I even have some PS3 emulation installed. Played Demon's Souls, Need for Speed. You need to look in the wiki for RPCS3 for this game to see custom launch commands. But other than that, nothing else that should be said. I hope I kind of gave you an idea what I had to deal with while trying to setting up Linux. It was a bit complicated at first, but now honestly, when something breaks, I'm not really panicking because I know there's a system file that I can just edit and make things better, or a command that I could run. So I think you should give Linux a try, even if it's a bit scary at first. And this trade-off of learning Linux, I think, is quite, let's say, advantageous for you compared to everything that you have to deal with Windows. The bloat, the constant AI, the updates. Also, regarding the updates, I didn't say that, but it's very important. On Linux, you just get a notification for the update, and that's it. Hey, you can update something. But it doesn't push the update, it doesn't force it. It just tells you that it's there. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. See you later.